G-Talk.
In our midst. And today I signed this bill into law. Almost every major promise made in the 2024 campaign already will have become a promise kept. And that's very important. Promises made, promises kept.
So welcome, everybody. This is a G-Talk special. It's your boy jAst, and I was just thinking. Yeah, it sounded better in my head, but we'll just go with it. Cool. So I had a thought. Actually, I had three. Want to hear them? Let's go.
It is no coincidence that our present troubles parallel and are proportionate to the intervention and intrusion in our lives that result from unnecessary and excessive growth of government.
You know, sometimes I wonder if America's got short-term memory loss. No, seriously. Because it's July 3rd, 2025. And guess what they passed in Congress today? Who's they? You'll find out in a second. Yeah, the big billionaire bill. At least that's what I call it. And you know that big bill, the big ugly one, the one that just passed today. Yeah, you can look it up. My first thought wasn't historic or game-changing. My first thought was, have we learned nothing? Seriously, have we learned nothing? This is the 1980s all over again. Don't believe me? Go on the goggle, your creepy friend that's always watching. Check it for yourself. Do the research. I didn't have to, because I lived through it. And well, it's literally Reaganomics rebooted. This time it's all dressed up in a red hat. Selling the same old scam, but with a brand new MAGA logo on it. And a made in China tag. See, back in 1981, let's do some history here, shall we? Reagan slashed taxes. Remember that guy? The guy from California, the actor, used to smoke cigarettes on TV. Yeah, smoke these cigarettes. Be like me. Cool, hey, vote for me one day. That guy, he cut the top marginal rate from 70% down to 50%. They said it would unleash all sorts of growth and create jobs, boost prosperity. Where have I heard that before? And well, spoiler alert, it did none of that. It ballooned the deficit, it widened inequality, and it gutted social programs. Sound familiar? It should. Because here we are again, 2025. It's deja vu all over again. The MAGA maniacal misfits. Yeah, those guys. They just passed that bill. And, well, what's in it? Well, here's three key points of it. It makes Trump's tax cuts from 2017 permanent. It slashes Medicaid, housing, nutrition programs like SNAP. Yeah, that's all in the second point. And somehow, some way, it adds $3 trillion to the deficit with a T. Yeah, a T, not Trump. And the justification, wait for it. We have to stop the fraud. Stop the waste. Yep. We doing it Doji style, baby. Let's go. Woof, woof. Or my personal favorite reason, too many 29-year-olds are living in their parents' basement defrauding Medicare. Because like Ben Meiselas says on the Midas Touch Network, that's what everyone wants to do. They want to get those crazy surgeries, the knee surgery or the back surgery, defraud the government. Yeah, that's what we do, right? Oh, not we. I'm not 29. I once was, a few years ago. Yeah. It's like, really? That's the problem? It's the same tired old narrative from 40 years ago, my friends. Back then, it was welfare queens. Now it's unemployed millennials. Same villain, different TikTok account. But here's a twist. They're blaming the victims of this broken economy while shoveling more money to the billionaires and defense contractors. True story. It's all over Fox News, so it's true, right? Right? My friends, that's not fiscal conservatism. I can't even say it. Conservatism. It's fiscal cannibalism. Seriously. And what really gets me, you ready, is how people who are barely holding on, the working poor, the middle class, they keep cheering for the policies. Yeah, well, it cuts their legs right out from under them. Why? Well, I'll put a blank space there. I'm sure there's plenty of adjectives you could put there, but let's be nice. It's because the branding is just that good. And we keep falling for it. Hook, line, and big, beautiful sinker. We don't have economic policy anymore, my friends. We have economic propaganda. And big ratings, baby. Thanks, Fox News. Business is booming.
Something to do with the bill, the one big beautiful bill, and it is a big beautiful bill. And so I think the Senate is going to get there. I hope they're going to.
So naturally, the very same day this bill passes, what happens? Say it with me. Go ahead and take a guess. I'll wait. If you said the stock market soared, you got it, baby. S&P 500, NASDAQ, record highs. Let's go. And everyone's like, see? The economy's doing great. No. The market is doing great. Wall Street is doing great. But Wall Street ain't the economy, folks. It never was. Here's the truth. You ready? Here's some numbers for you. Some real numbers. 61% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. You are probably one of them. Truth is a truth, right? Let's admit it. First way you fix a problem, right? At least that's how I think it should have been done. Household debt just hit 18.2 trillion with a T. A T. Do you have any debt? You probably do. Credit card delinquencies are rising faster than they have since 2008. Should I even ask the question? And now I'm not just talking about low-income folks. Even high earners are stretched thin. It's everybody. Sure, they've got nicer houses, flashier cars, and, 2 dust-covered Pelotons in the garage. I'll get to it one day. But they're still spending more than they make. Just like the family down the street in a rental, scraping to get by. Again, you might be one of them. We've built a culture where debt isn't the exception. It's the operating system. And it keeps getting updated. Thanks, Apple. The only thing separating the rich from the broke is the size of the minimum payment. So when politicians and pundits point at the Dow Jones and say, look, the economy is strong. That's like looking at a yacht party and assuming everyone at the dock is invited. What's that saying again? A rising tide lifts all boats and yachts, if you could afford one. But what happens when you're in the water trying to keep your head above it? Watch out for them big boats, kids. By the way, did you know that half of all stock, like half of the stock market, is owned by The top 1%. 1%. So yeah, they're doing great. The rest of us, how's it go with those boats again? We're just trying to afford groceries after payday. You know, groceries, that big, beautiful word that our great leader invented. Well, the disconnect isn't just frustrating, my friends. It's dangerous because it gives the illusion of health while the body's actually bleeding out. Hope you still got health insurance, or at least a Band-Aid and some mercurochrome. Sorry, 80s reference?
This large influx of money to U.S. banks and financial institutions, along with low interest rates, made it easier for Americans to get credit. These developments allowed more families to borrow money for cars and homes and college tuition, some for the first time. They allowed more entrepreneurs to get loans to start new businesses and create jobs. Unfortunately, there were also some serious negative consequences, particularly in the housing market. Easy credit, combined with the faulty assumption that home values would continue to rise, led to excesses and bad decisions.
Now, here's where things get scary, real scary. Because when you pair massive tax cuts for the rich, and listen, I'm not demonizing the rich. Capitalism, baby, it's America. You worked hard for it, good for you. The rest of us, wah, wah, wah. But with record debt and wild speculation and a stock market soaring on fumes, all that stuff together, well, what does that do? You don't get growth. You get, say it with me, a bubble. But the thing about bubbles, they always feel good right before they pop. Remember 2000? The dot-com boom? Y'all remember 2000? Stocks went crazy. Everyone was a day trader. And then I'll try to put something cool on the screen. The NASDAQ fell 70% in like 2 years. Yikes. Jobs vanished. Retirement accounts, gone. Oh, you want to move along? Okay. How about 2008? Remember that?
The fact that we're even here voting on a plan to rescue our economy from the greed and irresponsibility of Wall Street and some in Washington is an outrage. It's an outrage to every American who works hard, pays their taxes, and is doing their best every day to make a better life for themselves and their families.
The housing market was too big to fail until it did. Millions lost homes, jobs, and hope. Remember that guy who invented hope? Where'd he go? Well, now it's 2025. And we're staring down the barrel of, say it with me, another one. DJ Khaled, I couldn't get it off. Screw it. Except this time, it's all AI hype, crypto speculation, and a ton of TikTok investment advice poured right into the mix. Keep doom scrolling, my friends. You'll find a winner. Investors are buying stocks like lottery tickets. Corporations are doing buybacks instead of hiring. It's kind of part of the MO now. Oh, and politicians? Yeah, they're buying stocks too. Tons of them. But, well, I digress. Right, Nancy? A digress? Something else. Now, they're not just buying stocks, my friends. They're literally throwing gasoline. Not literally, but they're throwing gasoline on the fire. They're cutting taxes, raising debt ceilings. How high can we go? Apparently, at least another 5 trillion. And they're promising everything to everyone just to make dear leader happy and to save their own ass. But here's the kicker. You can't debt fund prosperity forever. Well, you can try. Good luck with that. Eventually, the math catches up. Bills come due, and when they do, well, you got to pay them. Well, or not. It's not the billionaires who suffer, my friends. It's the people who bought into the lie and bought that new shiny red hat. Hope you kept the receipt. So I was just thinking. Here's the closing monologue part. I spent 15 years in banking. I was a banker. I wasn't a dirty banker. I wasn't on Wall Street or anything like that. A retail banker, at a bank. I was that guy. When you had a problem, you went and annoyed that guy. That was me. Hi, hello. And well, I saw the 2008 housing crash. There were a lot of people coming in the bank with problems. It gutted a lot of lives. A lot of working families, small businesses, they trusted me. They trusted the bank and with everything, their hopes, their dreams, their livelihoods. I saw the fear in their eyes when their equity disappeared, loans came due, when they couldn't make ends meet, literally. When they had 10 overdraft fees and they couldn't afford to pay it. And these were high-level managers. These were people with big-time jobs. And they couldn't afford a few $37 fees. That's a whole other thing, banks. You pieces of shit. Not to go down that road, but why are you charging overdraft fees? That's a whole other pot. But I digress. I saw the exhaustion, the years it took to even get back to some breathing room. It took a while, my friends. Again, go on the goggle. You'll find out. If you didn't live through it, lucky you. You're about to live through it again. And let's be honest, folks. I don't think we ever really recovered, did we? Some of us didn't. They just adapted to a new kind of broken. And I'm part of the day. You just got used to it. You figured it out, I guess. Oh, and then what happened? Well, a little thing called COVID. Yeah, that thing came along. I watched it happen all over again. Rich, poor, middle class, everyone drowning in the uncertainty. All caught up in the same storm, just in different sized boats. Well, for those who could afford them. And the common thread, say it with me, debt, denial, delusion. And one of them was in a river in Egypt. An economy built on vibes and spending and the illusion of control. Yeah, I got this figured out this time. We've already lived through this before. I got it, honey. Did you? It wasn't just painful. My friends, it was predictable. And here we are again, passing another billionaire tax cut. Go figure. Watching Wall Street throw a party while Main Street quietly suffocates. I'll say it again. Have we learned nothing? Let me geek out for a second, if I may. I'm what you call a Star Wars fan. Always have been. Remember the original trilogy, the OT? How did it start? No. I don't mean literally. I mean, episode 4, for whatever reason. It was called A New Hope. Remember that? Well, back in 2008, a lot of us thought some guy named Obama was that new hope. That maybe, just maybe, we'd finally shift the course. But then came the long grinding empire of the status quo. And the story got messier. Insert a credit carbonite joke here. Yeah. Sorry, Han. And the final act of that trilogy, my personal favorite, Return of the Jedi. Of course. The good guys come back. The Force is balanced. There's redemption, clarity, peace. Chewie still didn't get his medal. That came later. But I digress again. But right now, this moment we're living in, it doesn't feel like Return of the Jedi. It feels more like Return of the Red Tie. What? Well, they can't all land smoothly. Right, Sully? It feels like we're stuck in a bad reboot, along with some bad dad jokes. A knockoff sequel where the villains keep changing costumes, but the plot still stays the same. Where the Empire just rebrands, retools, and remind us that they never really left. So maybe the real question is, well, when does the real return begin? And who's going to be brave enough to bring balance back to the force? The system? One day, maybe we'll find our Ray. Well, listen, my friends. Thanks for listening. I'm done thinking. Hopefully, you just started to. My friends, keep thinking. Keep talking. We'll figure this one out eventually. I hope. God bless. Talk soon.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.